Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo.
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. Ty Hildebrand here, Dan Rubenstein over there, solidverbal@gmail.com. As always, don't forget to give us a phone call at 408-VERBAL-1. That's 408-837-2251. As you're watching the games, as you got something popping into your head about what you're watching, give us a phone call. Our boy Taylor's going to mix that up. We'll have it ready for you on Sunday morning when we record next. We are also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat. And, of course, Dan Rubenstein, help us out by going out to itunes.com/solidverbal and either clicking on subscribe, or if you've already done that, throwing us a star rating or writing up a friendly review. How are you?
I'm good, Ty. I am a shooting star leaping through the skies. I just like a tiger defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car, Ty, passing by the likes of Lady Godiva. I'm going to go. And if you think there was
Queen?
a possibility...
Are you going Queen?
There is no stopping me.
Don't stop me now, baby.
Mr. Fahrenheit is what? It's my friends, what they call me. Yeah.
Wow. Where'd you come up with that one?
It was on a mix that I was listening to while I was studying for week 6, and I played it like 3 times, and now here we are.
What does your week 6 mix look like?
We've got some Phoenix on here. We've got older Fall Out Boy. Looks like we've got some Passion Pit. It's real high energy.
Okay.
I've got Lazaretto by Jack White on there. I've got some Paul Simon.
Wow.
I've got a little bit of Kanye. I've got who do we have over here? A little Weezer. And you know what? Just for the good times at the end, a little Blues Traveler with Runaround.
Yeah. A little John Popper.
The last time Colorado was good, and now we have to talk about Colorado as a good team again because they most certainly are. So I try to get into that mode.
Okay. Yeah, you're scratching pretty much all the right corners there. With your week 6 mix, it's an interesting slate of games. You know, what we try to do is we try to pick out the quote unquote big games, right? The ones that we think are going to be of most interest to the people who are listening. And this week we pulled out about 6 of them. What's interesting though is we've got a secondary list of other noteworthy games.
Yeah.
And this is probably the longest other noteworthy game section we've ever had. It's not a lot of headlining games, but certainly a lot of games that, okay, I could pick a storyline here or a storyline there. I could find a reason to make, any number of other games interesting, even if they don't have that top billing.
Yeah, it's a full court press is what it is this week. Everywhere you look, there is something to be interested in. Even Michigan State, BYU. I know. Well, we're going to dig. We have our little metal detectors out for interest, and we're going to find something in that matchup.
Shall we dive right in, Mr. Rubenstein?
God, I don't know what else we're here to do. Yeah.
Breaking news! So did you hear about the hurricane?
Is this Matthew? Hurricane Matthew?
Hurricane Matthew. Not talking about the Miami Hurricanes,
which
is a bit confusing on a college football show. But there is a hurricane bearing down on the eastern seaboard of the United States. At last check, it appears as if it's headed towards South Carolina, a little bit north of Florida, somewhere in that range. This obviously is not a good thing, right? We don't want a hurricane to hit the United States. However, just within the context of our show...
Or Haiti.
Really, anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Within the very specific context and ecosystem we've created here on the Solid Verbal, this creates the possibility for a number of monsoon games in the southeastern quadrant of the United States, and we will be doing our fair share to make sure you know about each and every one of them, maybe here or there with the sound as well.
This excites you from not a human suffering perspective, but from you're just a weather junkie, Ty. You just love a good Doppler.
I love a good Doppler, and it's intriguing to me because it could be the second straight year where Notre Dame finds itself at a monsoon game.
And I would say just as important of a game.
Potentially, it could be, yeah.
So full eligibility on the line here, people.
We're going to get to that in just a little bit.
Yeah.
Actually, the big, if you want to call it that, college football news Vance Bedford, the defensive coordinator for Texas, has effectively been demoted. Charlie Strong now taking over the play calling duties.
It is 100% demotion. He's just coaching the defensive backs now.
And Charlie Strong now is apparently back on the hot seat. This isn't anything that comes as any great shock in light of what we saw happen over the last couple of weeks for Texas. But certainly it's not something that we expected to see a whole lot of movement on midseason.
Well,
I have
week one.
What's that?
Especially after week one.
Especially after week one. It seems as if there are more and more Tom Herman coaching rumors. Oot and a boot. And that's good for me on a fantasy things level.
I'm super curious to see if Tom Herman, and we are big fans of Tom Herman, he's been on the show a couple times, if he pulls a Brian Kelly, if he leads Houston to an undefeated season and takes off if they don't make the playoffs.
Wow.
I'd be interested to see if that happens, because certainly if he leaves for a job like Texas, as we mentioned, Charlie Strong, back on that hot seat, squarely on that hot seat, reports coming out that he won't be fired midseason, but if things don't improve drastically, it will be time for Charlie Strong to move on. Our pal Bruce Feldman, of course, is, I don't know if it's a strong enough word to say reporting, but on his own podcast, which you should listen to if you have time, The Audible with Bruce and Stu Mandel, he said if Charlie Strong is let go from Texas, it's basically a done deal that Tom Herman steps in to Austin. Yeah.
Wow.
So that is doesn't come as a huge surprise. And Tom Herman has recruited Houston, which is relevant for schools in Texas and for LSU, the other marquee job that's opened up in the area. But that it already appears to be such a clean situation in early October is worth noting.
I just keep picturing Tom Herman swimming in a giant sea of gold coins like he's Scrooge McDuck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's the way things are shaping up for him. I like Charlie Strong as a coach, but to me, it's always felt like a bit of an odd fit for him at Texas. You know, like they've never fully embraced him, so it almost feels like a foregone conclusion at this point that they are going to move on after the season. I will push back a little bit, though, on the perception that things are in total disarray, and we could talk a little bit more about this when we preview the Red River Shootout here momentarily. Certain aspects of the team have absolutely been a disappointment, but the offense is better, and we'll get into all that. I'll talk more about that, but the bullet point here is really that Charlie Strong appears to be on very thin ice at Texas. It does appear like there's a ton of momentum going in the direction of Tom Herman. It is obviously going to be a story that plays itself out over the next 10 weeks or so. So stay tuned here and elsewhere. We'll do our best to try and keep you in the loop.
By the way, timing could not be more important, because as Charlie Strong took over Louisville early in his tenure, he had a promising good quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And yes, it is certainly on Charlie Strong and his staff to develop that person, but it certainly is excellent. And Teddy Bridgewater sort of fell into Louisville's lap with the turmoil at Miami when he decommitted from the Canes. So that is certainly something that makes it so much easier, and doing so in a place with far less pressure, at least at that time, than Texas is constantly under. So timing could not have been better for Charlie Strong at Louisville, and probably could not have been worse considering where the program was when he took it over. So,
yeah,
man, rough. It's rough times.
Gonna be a wacky coaching carousel.
Yeah, it is.
It's shaping up to be that way. All right, let's do it.
Dan, time, help. I need picks of the week.
Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby. Okay.
What are you getting worked up over?
6 big games here for week 6, and then we're going to talk about a number of others. I am feeling saucy.
Oh, finally.
Saucy.
It's taken you 5 weeks.
It has taken me 5 weeks. My picks have been just dreadful. Finally now, I'm looking through the games haphazardly. I got my yellow legal pad here next to me.
Nice.
Finally, I feel like I have a pulse for where things are going to go in week 6. So, with that as the backdrop, Dan Rubenstein, I fully intend on giving not 1, not 2, but maybe even 3 locks this week. I'm feeling saucy.
Triple?
Feeling saucy.
Wow. Okay. Wow. And a week with a storm out east, a week with uncertainty out west. I like this.
Let's start at the very top. 12 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. Oklahoma, the Sooners, a 10-point favorite over Texas. Wow. Do you remember a few years ago when they kind of overnight rebranded this game?
Sure.
I feel like it has to be within the span of us doing this podcast, but I don't know if it was an official thing or what, but almost overnight, it became the Red River rivalry. The Red River Showdown.
Showdown is what I've heard this year, yeah.
The Red River Classic. Listen, pump the brakes, all right? We're all adults here, Dan.
Yeah.
Where I come from, we call this the Red River Shootout. It's a shootout.
Is that what they call it in Allentown, PA?
That's what they call it in Allentown,
on the
PA.
streets, everybody's just like, guys, come on. It's the shootout.
Everyone's walking around with their cowboy hats and chaps and 6 shooters in their pockets or in their holsters.
I should tell you, by the way, just because Allentown, PA, before we preview this game, came up in my life.
Wow.
I don't know if you want me to save this till the end of the show.
Save it for the end. I want to hear this.
Okay.
I'm writing it down, though.
Got a good Allentown anecdote. Okay, continue.
I'm writing down Allentown. Okay.
Yep.
So look, you hit the nail on the head when you tweeted it out earlier that life comes at you fast. That was
life
a couple
comes at
days
you
ago.
fast.
A month ago, we're talking about the triumphant return of Texas to the top shelf of the Big 12, led, of course, by our Lord and Savior, one Shane Bichelle, correct?
Yeah, Jesus.
Now a loss to Cal. You got the loss to Oklahoma State. You got a defensive coordinator that's no longer a head coach, taking a more active role in the defense. Texas really is Notre Dame's spirit animal, aren't they?
I can't believe you passed up the opportunity to say a loss to Cal and a loss to Prairie Cal, but okay, fine. Fine.
It's a legitimate spirit animal situation here between Notre Dame and Texas.
Yeah, I mean, like we've said in the past, once you play Notre Dame and you get Notre Dame all over you, you just sort of become them and their problems. And that's what Texas right now, Ty. And make no mistake, Oklahoma has a pretty garbage pass defense at the moment. They've struggled to limit teams through the air, but it's somehow better than Texas's pass defense, which is somehow the literal worst Power 5 pass defense when it comes to rating against FBS teams. That's where we're at right now. So, not pretty.
So it's looking like it could be a real shootout in the Red River Shootout.
I would imagine so. Oklahoma's pretty good in the red zone, and Texas is actually decent in the red zone. It's those long plays, those breakdowns that are going to get you. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think it is going to be a bit of a shootout in the shootout.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I want to come back to something I mentioned a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
The perception is that the wheels have come off the old 18-wheeler.
18-wheeler package.
Yeah, buddy. That's from Chris Carr, a listener. Send in your own 18-wheeler package sounds.
Oh, man. That seemed like such a good thing to send us after week 1.
Are you buying into the narrative that Texas is in disarray, or do you look at this team? Are you still cautiously optimistic that they can turn this thing around and finish like 8-4?
I think both can sort of be true in their own way. It was a full rebuild. It was a gut renovation at Texas, and we're now in what? Year 3 of Charlie Strong's tenure in Austin. You would imagine by year 3, there is noticeable and incremental and at times significant improvements. And defensively, his strength, and certainly when he took over last week in the second half against Oklahoma State, it was there as a short-term thing, but we should be seeing not just an improved, but a good Texas defense at this point, given his background and given the talent that is available to him. I would imagine it should be a good defense, and it's nowhere near average at the moment.
I would agree with that. The defense, a huge disappointment, but the offense is a lot better. And this is part of the reason why I don't feel like it's total disarray, because we've seen teams that have been total disarray. USC's pulled that move before in the past, and I don't feel like Texas is there yet. Still a much better team than a year ago, and it doesn't seem like players are quitting on them. They're still playing hard. They're going to win more games this year than last year. It's not going to be enough for Charlie Strong to keep his job, but I'm just not going to get suckered into believing that Texas is a total dumpster fire at this point, especially now headed into a big rivalry game.
You got to throw out those records, Ty. You got to throw them all out.
That's right, Dan. We throw out the records. Plus Texas beat Oklahoma a year ago. This is a team that they've beaten before. I saw the stat from our good friend Jake Trotter of ESPN. In the last 8 meetings where an unranked Texas has faced a ranked Oklahoma, Texas has won 6 of those games dating back to 1989. So there's a lot of history here. I'm not saying, but I'm saying I think I think Texas can at least keep this one close.
It has nothing to do with anything, Ty, but we are now at 717 days, 17 hours, 29 minutes, and 14 seconds since Texas last scored a point against Iowa State.
Iowa State, yeah, thank you.
717 days.
Okay. So where are you going on this game?
I'm going to take Oklahoma here.
Okay.
I don't know why. I go back and forth, take the points in a shootout, but I think there are more ways for Oklahoma to win this game. And in looking at what Texas has been struggling with, I think they're going to limit Oklahoma's offense more than perhaps a Vance Bedford defense these past few weeks has shown itself able to do. But something about Charlie Strong folding 4.5, 5 minutes against Oklahoma State last week, there needs to be some sort of killer instinct to beat a team as talented and filled with as much potential as Oklahoma's is. And I'm disheartened at the moment. Right. I think it's too late. I don't think Texas is in disarray, but I think they are now going to start pressing, which will only serve to hurt them further. I just don't think they're loose at all. So I'm going to go Oklahoma here, 34-21.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I saw this line and I said, whoa. 10 in rivalry games, a lot of points.
Throw those records out.
You got to throw them out. I've yet to fully comprehend the game from last year where Texas beat Oklahoma. Texas isn't going to hold Oklahoma down, Dan, but I'm not sure Oklahoma can hold down Texas either because they give up a lot of big plays.
They do.
Especially through the air, which works to Texas's favor. Deonta Foreman's going to play in this game after getting banged up a week ago, so that gives Texas another dimension. I just think a lot of points, a lot of big plays, a true Red River shootout. I think Oklahoma wins, but I'm going to say 41-37. And, let's get saucy with it.
Wow.
Lock of the week.
I am locking up the Texas Longhorns plus 10 in the Red River shootout.
Could not disagree more. Okay.
Moving on. Also at high noon on ESPN, we've got LSU, a 3-point favorite, Dan, traveling to Florida. And I got to say, this could be our first monsoon game alert.
It's going to rain.
Yeah. Thank you, Ollie Williams.
Yes, it could very well be our first monsoon game. Hope everybody stays safe. This game is weird. This game has so much weirdness in it. So right off the bat, the big story to me, other than Ed Orgeron in his second game as head coach for LSU, is will Luke Del Rio return? There are conflicting reports. There's a possibility that he'll return. Even if Luke Del Rio returns, is that like a huge deal? It's a big deal as it relates to starting Austin Appleby and his struggles throwing downfield. But I don't think Luke Del Rio gives you a demonstrably better offense than Austin Appleby does. He looked stronger early against far lesser teams. Florida is the most penalized team, I believe, in the SEC. They are not the most penalized team in the country, but in the SEC, they have been undisciplined. They go against an LSU defense that is filthy, and Florida's own defense is pretty beat up. Depth-wise along the defensive line, they're suffering. Both teams are good in the red zone, but I think I'm going to give the edge right now in a tough place to play. I hate going against a good defense that's a home dog, but I'm going to go LSU. I think things are just better within that program than they are right now with Florida. I imagine Florida's going to lean on Jordan Scarlett a little bit more than usual. They've been sort of by committee in the backfield, but LSU is going to force either Luke Del Rio or Austin Appleby to beat them. And in terms of the thing that is the most lopsided, I think Florida on like 3rd and 9 throwing into the teeth of this LSU defense, even at home, is my answer. So I'm going to go LSU here. Relatively low scoring, 20-13.
All right, I have 21-14 in favor of LSU.
There you go.
Written down on my crib sheet here. Let's back up, though.
Yeah.
What is Ed Orgeron's pregame speech going to look like if they are literally flying into the eye of a hurricane? What is that? I'm picturing Lieutenant Dan atop the mast of the Jenny. Is that the best you can, like, a situation like that?
Yeah, this will not affect Ed Orgeron at all. This will only make him stronger. And I can't wait to see it. Now, I mean, look, LSU and Danny Etling still won't be able to throw. If it's raining hard, especially, I would favor LSU. So
I agree.
I think the Tigers are in the best possible position here at a tough road spot to walk away with this game. Because at this point, Danny Etling, to me, is at best even with the Florida quarterbacking situation. And hey, Purdue transfer bowl. I'm going with the Purdue transfer who's looked a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know if this one's all that complicated to project, to be honest with you. This was always going to be a bit of a defensive slugfest. You layer on top of that a muddy field, potentially with rain and wind. And you could argue that LSU is the more motivated team right now after what we saw last week. That was a pretty inspired offensive effort.
Yep.
I think LSU wins 21-14.
Should also mention LSU defensive end Arden Key is stupid good and now leading the SEC in sacks.
Yep.
Nice little thing to have.
All right. 3:30. This game is being played in North Carolina, so I'm just going to say it.
It's raining sideways.
We've got another monsoon game alert.
Yep.
North Carolina, a 2.5 point favorite over visiting Virginia Tech, Dan. You know, this is a convenient spot for Virginia Tech because no one's really paying attention to them. Here are some factoids that may only interest Ty Hildebrand. Tech's defense is 7th overall in the S&P Plus. They are 2nd overall against the pass, 27th against the run. Their overall defensive havoc rate is 5th. Gerard Evans, their quarterback, he's completed, I believe this is correct, 67% of his passes.
Yeah.
And he owns a 13-1 TD to interception ratio. He also leads the team in rushing yardage, and he's running for about 7 yards a clip. That's everything you need to know about Virginia Tech's offense. In a nutshell, for what it's worth, General Mitch Trubisky, whom we do not have a sound for quite yet, but will in due time. He's the other quarterback in this game. He actually has 13 touchdown passes and no interceptions.
I only looked at numbers against FBS teams, so mine are slightly different. In his actual Gerard Evans completion percentage is 69%, which is nice.
Saucy, yeah.
Nice. Gerard Evans against not great competition, but Boston College's defense has been very good. Has been excellent. And you point to Tennessee, obviously, as the realest team that they've played. Not maybe the one, but the realest team they've played. And giving up the 45 points they did isn't squarely on that defense. The offense turned it over, I believe, 5 times. They were penalized 8 times in that game on both sides. So I don't think that is a mandate on that defense. And the really interesting, both of these quarterbacks are throwing extraordinarily well down the field. They're both top 15, and our friends at Pro Football Focus is college adjusted deep ball percentage, so traveling 20 yards or more through the air. And something that I think could make a difference, especially for Virginia Tech on the road, is third down defense. North Carolina is very bad. And what do you want on the road? You want extended drives to sort of take the life out of the crowd. And it's not a huge home field advantage. But on top of all of this, kind of a big letdown spot for North Carolina, I would say. Even though I really like North Carolina and General Mitch Trubisky, letdown spot. I think that's irrefutable. Virginia Tech has been great on third downs. I cannot wait to see the matchup between Virginia Tech's defense, that lunch pail, blue collar, Bud Foster
That's correct.
defense.
Thank you.
Against how efficient North Carolina's offense has been. So I'm going with Virginia Tech. I think defense travels. I think Gerard Evans has a nice coming out party after that Tennessee game. And I think the Hokies take it outright. And, Ty, you're not the only saucy one here this week.
Oh?
Lock up those Hokies for me.
Lock of the week.
Dan, we again are in complete and total agreement.
31-27 Hoks.
I've got 35-24.
And I don't know if people call them the Hoks, and I apologize because Hoke is not necessarily a compliment in the college football universe.
I like Tech to win 35-24. I think they're the real deal. Gerard Evans has been a real revelation. You mentioned the Bud Foster lunch pail defense. They are playing quite well. And don't look now. The schedule sets up really nicely for a dark horse run at the ACC. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just, if you find yourself bored, go and look at their schedule.
Who's their coach again, Ty?
Their coach would be Justin Fuente. Probably a little bit of a letdown effect here. It is not a true trap game, but what the hell?
It's a trap.
We haven't played Admiral Akbar in a while here on the show.
Miss him so much. I believe the actor who played Admiral Akbar just passed away.
He has passed away. R.I.P. Yeah. So yeah, I'm liking Tech here as well. I say 35-24. We will see if there are any elements at play here with the looming storm.
Yeah.
But even if there are, I think that favors Virginia Tech, and I am quite bullish on the Hokies, and that's solid verbal bump for Justin Fuente. Dan, are you going to any games this weekend?
I don't believe so, but if I were, what should I do?
Our verballer by the name of Josh snagged a ticket to see North Carolina and NC State in a monsoon, mind you, using our SeatGeek code. He says it may be at least a 50% bad idea, but if he can call in with a firsthand account from the Notre Dame NC State game being played in the monsoon, that also goes out to our friend Dave and Carter Finley, who I know will be there.
Yep.
We would love to hear about your experience because, of course, SeatGeek is the service that can get you there. It's the first place you should go when you're looking for tickets to a game or a concert. Just get the app for your phone. It's free. It's easy to use. I looked at it the other day just to see what was going on in the area. Everything about SeatGeek really, truly is designed to make life easier for you if you're a sports fan, if you're a music fan. They do all the hard stuff up front. They'll do the comparison for you. They try to get you really the most bang for your buck. That's why every ticket is given a grade based on value. You'll see what's underpriced. You'll have everything at your fingertips that you need to make an informed decision. Right now, what's really cool if you're a verballer, get a $20 rebate on your first SeatGeek purchase. So download the app. It's free. Go to settings, add a promo code, and then enter the promo code SOLID. And after you've made your first ticket purchase, they will send you $20. That's pretty much all there is to it. It really is a good service. People have used it countless times now on the show. Download it for free, enter the promo code SOLID, and get your $20 rebate, Dan.
Worst case scenario, if it is poor weather and the game doesn't go, it was Josh, right? Going to this game?
Yeah.
Go to Cookout after the game. Have you ever been to Cookout, Ty?
No. What's that?
Oh my God. It's a fast food chain, sort of mid-Atlantic. It's in the Carolinas, all over the place in North Carolina. 40 kinds of, mind you, Cookout is not a sponsor.
No.
40 kinds of milkshakes, Ty. I'm looking at the menu right now. And if you've been to Cookout a lot and you have strong opinions of Cookout, tweet us your go-to milkshake flavor. I think I would go peach cobbler. I've gotten the chocolate cherry before and it was outstanding. Peach cobbler looks great. They also have I'm seeing, where did it go? There's like a caramel. There's like a fudge caramel. That's just yelling my name. It's just so, Dad, drink me.
All right.
And now I'm thinking about Cookout.
Along with your Allentown mention a little later on in the show.
Yeah.
Perhaps also a secret verbal dealing with milkshake flavors.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Let's move on. 3:30 CBS. This game is at Texas A&M. Dan, the Aggies are a 7-point favorite at home again against the Tennessee Volunteers. So this is a pretty big game.
Yeah.
But you and I had a heart-to-heart this week.
We did.
We had a heart-to-heart, and we spend so much time talking about football and in the gridiron and all the things that don't matter in life. And I just thought maybe, if you're up for it, maybe we could spend some time right now talking about what Josh Dobbs means to Tennessee football and really to us as fellow men, if you're okay with that. I have some music here, if you're okay with getting emotional.
Always.
What does Josh Dobbs mean to you, Dan?
Josh Dobbs means saving the day. Josh Dobbs means being there for me in my neediest hour. Josh Dobbs means never giving up on me, on my health, and my well-being. And you don't find Josh Dobbs everywhere, do you, Ty?
You don't.
And I think it's always time to say, thank you, Josh Dobbs.
Thank you, Josh.
I really had given up on me, and I'm just eternally grateful that you didn't give up on me. And here we are. It's because of you.
Wrong. I lost. I'm sorry.
No. You did a great job.
Okay, that's a little too much for us here, but thank you, Josh, for all you've done this season. Now I'm picking Texas A&M to win this game.
Yeah, same.
So we also chatted about the actual football game earlier. Tennessee is your LRO team of the week, correct?
Yes, they are.
What does LRO signify?
So I've mentioned this at least a couple times throughout the history of the Solid Verbal. There are certain times where teams just go on runs where you can appreciate them, and balls are quite literally bouncing in perfect directions in this case for Tennessee with some fumble luck, even though Georgia was able to recover some fumbles of Tennessee's last week or of their own. But I feel like Tennessee coming off of a huge emotional win, another win in which they needed to come back in the second half, going on the road to play in a hostile road environment against a very good defense, against an offense that runs the ball particularly well. LRO to me is they are my luck runs out team. And that's not to say Tennessee doesn't have skill because they've played with a ton of it.
Right.
Luck more refers to the bounces that Tennessee has gotten, needing a Hail Mary, recovering however many fumbles that they've recovered at whatever clip. Tennessee's L, I think, is running O. That's where I am.
Look, how many times are we going to do this thing where Tennessee goes down early and it looks like they're going to lose, and then Twitter goes nuts, and you and I start texting each other about it, and then they don't lose?
Yeah.
Like every single game has been a cardiovascular event for those watching at home. This is not sustainable. It is not sustainable. And the thing is, Tennessee is good enough to not do this.
Correct.
They are. Like, could they maybe go out and just start killing teams? We know that they're good enough. They've got the talent to do it. But
nobody's killing Texas A&M, though, but yeah.
No one's killing Texas A&M, but just anybody. We're 5 weeks into the season now. Every game has had its moments. At this point, that's more the rule than the exception for Tennessee.
I think something that seems like a sure thing, which means it'll be immediately proven to be incorrect, is nobody's going to throw all that well at the beginning of this game.
Probably.
Trevor Knight has been, at best, average throwing the ball downfield. Josh Dobbs has been wonderful throwing the ball downfield in second halves. Something like his rating is 200. I tweeted that out. It's number 4 in the country. I think second overall for Power 5 quarterbacks, and atrocious in the first half, not even in the top 100 nationally in terms of efficiency. And here's what does not make the matter better. Texas A&M's defense, specifically their defensive line. I know Myles Garrett was beat up last week. Deshaun Hall, forget about Myles Garrett. And I advise nobody to forget about Myles Garrett. But Deshaun Hall and Derek Barnett for Tennessee have both been incredibly productive. So I just think in general, because of these defensive lines and because how good these two teams are getting into opposing teams' backfields, it's going to be tough to sit back and scan the field and go through progressions without being completely sideswiped and demolished.
Yeah, I agree.
And for that reason, I look to who runs the ball better, and Tennessee has ran the ball well. Texas A&M, Travion Williams, and again, this is according to our friends at Pro Football Focus and their metrics. Travion Williams is the 6th most elusive running back. So in terms of what he's been able to do, that is his doing, not the offensive line's doing. So yards after contact, etc. He's a top back in the country when it comes to that, and Tennessee is going to get their paws on him. So I expect a lot of defense in this game, and for that reason, I'm going to go Texas A&M here. I think they win this game. Let's go 31-21. I think they're about 10 points better. I just think, and I think that could be even a late touchdown for Tennessee getting that close. I think Texas A&M in a big moment. It's an afternoon game. People are going nuts, and 373,000 people seated in Kyle Field.
Yeah.
A&M takes this game behind just such a strong defense.
I love the defense. I love Texas A&M. I am all in on A&M and the new look spread HD, which a fine gentleman on Twitter told me that every time I mention it, his skin starts to itch.
Sorry.
I feel you on A&M. I think A&M wins. I think it's closer. I'm going to say an identical score to last week for Tennessee, 34-31, but in favor of A&M. The reason I am not going A&M is because Tennessee certainly has the horses to keep this one close. And while it isn't necessarily the best trend that they zoom back to life in the second half of all these football games, I still think it's something that we could end up seeing in this football game. They have shown a lot of fight late when it counts. So it might be too little too late for them in a game of this magnitude, but I still expect them to fight to the bitter end. So I think they're good enough to win this game. I'm not sure they will. I do expect them to keep it close. I'm going to say 34-31 A&M.
Wow. A lot of points.
A lot of points, yeah.
Cool. So we disagree.
Moving on, 7 p.m. Eastern. ESPN, Alabama, a 14-point road favorite against Arkansas. You look at Arkansas' schedule at all?
It's not great.
It's about to get real for Arkansas.
Not great.
Yeah. There is a legit chance that they could be underdogs from now until the end of November.
Yeah.
They got Bama this week, then Ole Miss, at Auburn, Florida, LSU. It's a really good home schedule. Like if you're in Fayetteville,
yes,
and you want to see high-level football, that's a good thing. Specifically, the problem with Arkansas is the line. That's the issue. The offensive line, just not.
You could make that a plural, Ty. The lines.
The line, sure. But specifically on offense, not what you'd expect from Brett Bielema. It's a team and a system that is traditionally focused around the power running game. And the line just hasn't played well. The rushing offense is still kind of trying to find its way. And, we've talked about Austin Allen. He's really good. He'll probably make some plays, but just not enough balance here, I think, for them to pose any kind of serious threat to Alabama.
Yeah, and weird situationally, too. Not good in short yardage situations to even get that. I think they're averaging like 1 yard per carry on third and, well, it's okay if it's on 3rd and 1, but between 3rd 1 and 3rd and 3 or something like that, it's 1 point something yards per carry. So it's not great. It's not all that promising going into a game against Alabama. And as bad as or average as that offensive line has been, the defensive front has been letting everything through. We saw what Texas A&M did, averaging damn near 10 yards per carry. TCU ran all over them for a good chunk of that game. So this could be a defensive front bordering on the cure for the common, Ty. I hate to say it because Alabama already does not have a common run game, but I think they're going to run all over Arkansas. That's why I think the line is so high, even with Arkansas having played Alabama pretty close in recent years, and the fact that the game is in Fayetteville. I believe it's in Fayetteville at Razorback Stadium. So I'm going to take Bama here by 17. I think they take this game seriously, and I think they win it by 31-13. So whatever that is, 18 points.
I've got 38-21 here.
Okay.
If you're nitpicking and you want to try to find something on the Alabama side, because they've been pretty good too, but not without their flaws, the passing game needs to get better.
Oh, yeah. Very average at this point.
It needs to get better. And look, that's not totally unforeseen. They're starting a freshman quarterback. That's just sort of the way it goes for a while. And the big plays haven't been there yet. Thankfully, Arkansas allows a ton of them. So maybe this could be a good game for Lane Kiffin and Jalen Hurts and some of the others on that Bama offense to get things in order on the big play explosiveness front. But ultimately, Bama's the better team here. They are the better team. They're going to win. I have them as well winning by 17. I'm going to say 38-21.
Bama next week has who? Tennessee or A&M?
I believe
they have Tennessee on the road.
Yeah, Tennessee.
So you don't think look ahead spot?
I don't. This is Alabama.
Yeah, and Arkansas is a top 20 team. You're right.
Yeah, I don't see a Nick Saban team looking past an Arkansas game on the road.
It is strange to think that if Arkansas has a chance, it's going to have to be on the back of Austin Allen, Keon Hatcher, Drew Morgan doing it through the air, which I think Arkansas is just too direct in what they do offensively to really make a dent in this Alabama defense. So yeah, 31-13 tied.
All right. And 8 p.m. ABC. This is a big game.
Yeah.
This is a
huge.
big game. Wow. Miami at home, 3 points now. A favorite over visiting and hated rival Florida State. Another monsoon game alert.
It's raining sideways. It's gonna rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going to rain.
I think it's probably going to rain.
At a minimum,
yeah.
It's going to be windy. It's probably going to be yucky.
Official meteorology, by the way, from the Solid Verbal. It's going to be yucky.
Yeah. Noted Miami alumnus Mark Richt is now pulling the switches.
Did he go there?
You better believe
I got to look this up.
He's looking to make some kind of statement. Dan, this is obviously a really good chance to do it. Miami's been really good this year. Very quietly. Yes. Richt has definitely had a positive impact. The offense is a lot more efficient. The defense is drastically better. College football is darn the luck about coaching. And when you get a good coach who knows offense and knows how to run a high-level, elite caliber football program, this is the kind of stuff that tends to happen. Miami's gotten much better in a hurry. I could see this game going either way. The one word of caution, though, and I said this on Sunday, this is still a really good Florida State team, too.
Is it?
The teams they have lost to have also been really good football teams. All of the teams they've played have been good football teams.
Okay.
So I don't want people to be fooled into thinking that Florida State is in some kind of tailspin, because they're not. This might not be an elite team, but
they're more talented than everybody they've played.
They're more talented. They're not elite. They're a top 15 team. And I just think to that extent, this point spread feels like an overreaction to me. I think Florida State's like a touchdown better than Miami at this point.
Really?
I do. Yeah.
Why? Dalvin Cook is good. Really? No. Dalvin Cook is excellent.
Dalvin Cook is a future NFL Pro Bowler, and he has a bit of a flair for this Miami game. He's a Miami kid.
True.
I saw Tomahawk Nation posted some crazy stats that he had like 110 yards on 9 or 10 touches in his freshman year against Miami. Last year, he had something like 269 total yards, something in that vicinity, a bunch of touchdowns. I would expect that he's going to get a healthy dose of work in this game. And again, he would be motivated to go off on Miami. Miami also hasn't really played anyone. And that's not to say they haven't been good against the teams that they have played, but it's a pretty big step up in class to go from the previous 4 or 5 weeks to now a Florida State game that's really got a lot on the line on both sides here.
They haven't played anybody, sir. Appalachian State at Boone.
You're Appalachian State.
Appalachian State
Yeah.
at Boone.
What happened to App State in that game?
All that does is prove that Miami was able to dominate a really good team.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's what it proves.
Okay.
So I think there are more reasons at this point to like Miami. They're playing at home. They're playing against a Florida State team that's reeling a little bit and having issues that are sort of unforeseen. The defense has been unorganized. The pass defense has been, we talk about Oklahoma, Texas. Florida State's defense against the pass has been right there on that level. Granted, Lamar Jackson, Mitch Trubisky are much better quarterbacks, as is Chad Kelly. They've played 3 of probably the best 6 quarterbacks in the country. But still, this should be a team built for that. Now they're playing another great quarterback, another great 2016 quarterback anyway, in Brad Kaya. Florida State in years past struggled and continues to struggle getting into backfields. They don't put up a huge tackle for loss number all that often. Miami's got three great defensive linemen, the Jackson 2 and Joe Jackson, Demetrius Jackson, and Chad Thomas. They are super destructive. And on top of all of this, Florida State, especially on the road, they've been undisciplined. They're one of the top 5 or bottom 5, as you might see it, most penalized teams in college football. Added to that, Joe Yerby, who I don't even think starts. I think Mark Walton has actually carried the ball more. He's another running back in that Pro Football Focus elusive category, and again, does not even start. So Brad Kaya as an efficient quarterback, the defense looking good. This is all in the context of a lesser schedule, but Miami playing at home in weird weather. And I do like Florida State bouncing back after losses, but I'm going to go with the U to finally break through on the big stage. It is time for it to happen. Everything appears to be coming together. I'm going to go Miami here, 37-33.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big win.
I feel good.
Big win. I'm going Florida State 31-24. I think they bounce back.
Okay.
Some other noteworthy games. I'm going to go rapid fire here.
Let's rapid fire these.
Clemson minus 16.5 at Boston College.
Could be a letdown spot Friday night on the road against Boston College. Boston College's offense is on a historically bad run. I think Clemson is going to be fine here. 35-10 Tigers.
Give me Clemson here. Let's lock it up.
Lock of the week.
You're really going for it.
12 p.m. Notre Dame at NC State. NC State is a 2.5-point favorite in this game, Dan. Possible Monsoon Games.
It's raining sideways.
For the second straight year now. Deshaun Kaiser, we know, has experience working in hurricanes. People are really high on NC State. The numbers are as well. It's about to get real for them in the same way it's about to get real for Arkansas. Over the next 8 weeks, they've got not just Notre Dame now, but at Clemson, at Louisville, Boston College and their defense, Florida State, at Syracuse, Miami, and then at North Carolina. So NC State, I think, has delivered on some of the preseason hype around them. It wasn't quite as white hot as some other teams, but there was a lot to like preseason. This is a good football team, an improved football team. I think Notre Dame's better, but I'm biased. Am I the only one seeing it that way?
Well, I mean, if you did a blind taste test, it would be very difficult for you to defend Notre Dame outside of the clear better quarterback, right?
Agreed.
And probably better offensive line. So we take a team that is in defensive disarray, that's already fired its coordinator, that has a losing record, that has run the ball in a disappointing fashion and plays defense in an at best disappointing fashion, going on the road to play in the rain against a team with an efficient quarterback and is just sort of decent at doing everything, but against a schedule that isn't all that impressive. I'm going to go North Carolina State here, and I don't like it because I've watched more Notre Dame than North Carolina State, so I'm sort of riding with the unknown.
Yeah.
But I think in a weird, sloggy game, I'm going to go with the team with fewer out in the open issues, and that's NC State right now.
It's a fair point. I just think Notre Dame's a better team.
Okay, that's fine.
Notre Dame's going to win this game.
They have a quarterback who's good enough to, if he's playing at his best, beat just about everybody with average play around him. Notre Dame just hasn't gotten average play around him.
12 p.m. Maryland -2 on the road at Penn State. This point spread was -1 in favor of Penn State. It was a pick 'em for a while. Now it's gone in favor of Maryland.
Huge rivalry game, by the way.
I like Maryland in this game.
Okay.
But I don't feel good about it. If you look on paper, everything about this game, statistically and otherwise, really screams a 3-point win for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Maryland because of the DJ Durkin solid verbal bump that we are seeing in progress now in 2016. Penn State, so banged up just along their front seven that it's interesting to me in a game like this where I think they're going to go up against a team that's going to line up and try to run right at them. How long can their front seven hang in there and avoid running out of gas? So I'm going to go Maryland. I think it's a long slog, grind it out kind of game. I'll say they win something like 27-24.
Ty Johnson, one of the most underrated running backs, and his name is Ty.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. Do you know what Ty Johnson is averaging? And I'm not going to claim to have watched a lot of Ty Johnson, but do you know what he's averaging on a per carry basis and has not even been the leading carrier on this team? 11.8 yards per carry.
That's pretty good, right?
He has burst, I think it's fair to say, and only a sophomore. He is in a good place, but Maryland, their schedule, I mean, their big win is over Purdue. That's their, I think, lone Power 5 win, and they completely demolished them last week. Maryland's just doing things correctly. Perry Hillis is throwing the ball efficiently enough against nobodies. I'm trying to be cool here, but it's not like we have a ton to go on with Maryland. But I think at this point, I'm going to ride the encouraging hand, and Penn State's beat up front, like you mentioned. Trace McSorley, you take the good, you take the bad, and there you have Trace McSorley. So I'm going to go with Maryland here. I'm going with DJ Durkin bump as well, mostly because I hope they win.
Auburn -2.5 on the road at Mississippi State, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
This is the type of game that gets you. If you're on the hot seat, on the road at Mississippi State, this is a game that Auburn should win on paper. I'm curious to see what happens, though. They're only a 2.5-point road favorite. I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt here, mainly because of the defense. But
yeah,
this is one of those tight fights that I think could really break either way.
Yeah, we mentioned the defensive end matchup in Tennessee A&M with Derek Barnett and Deshaun Hall. My God, this game, A.J. Jefferson, one of the great underrated defensive players in the country, and Carl Lawson for Auburn alongside Montravius Adams. The defense is going to be really good for, I think, on both sides. I think Mississippi State's going to get pressure. Mississippi State, by the way, super young. Auburn has the experience edge here, but if it comes down to it, who is more likely to be in control offensively at this point, with Mississippi State struggles more often than not this year to separate from lesser opponents against Auburn? And granted, Stark Vegas, very difficult place to play, but I'm going Auburn here. I think they're just better. I think they're a touchdown better. I think they win this game 28-21.
Georgia Tech at Pitt. Pitt was a 8-point favorite at one point when I put our sheet together.
Now
it's 6.5. I'm assuming somebody in Vegas got a look at Pitt's defense, and that's what brought this down.
Oh.
This reminds me of the kind of game that you're going to flip on your TV. You're going to see the bottom line around 2:30. And you're going to say, wow, that game's a little closer than I expected here. But give me Pitt. I'll lay the points.
I'm going to lay the points as well. Pitt had a nice week against Marshall last week, and Georgia Tech doesn't do the one thing you should be able to do pretty well, and that's throw the ball. And Pitt is very bad at stopping any sort of air game. So I'm going with Pitt here. I think they ride what they do well enough, and force a couple of turnovers. So I'm going Panthers here to win by a touchdown.
For our next game, let's go to Columbus, Ohio. Indiana, fresh off their thrilling victory from a week ago over Michigan State. They are now on the road, a 29-point underdog against Ohio State, Dan, and the baby Buckeyes.
Yeah.
That from the creator of the Yakko's home dog sound effect. I love it. 29 points here. I don't think a question of whether or not Ohio State wins, although Indiana is securely on the secretly decent list. But it is a question to me of whether or not Ohio State covers a 4-touchdown line. It's a pretty big line against a team that can score.
Yeah, I am going to go Ohio State minus anything here. Indiana, potential letdown factor, going on the road to the Horseshoe. I'm going to ride the Buckeyes here and just feel confident doing it.
I'll go Indiana with a backdoor cover.
By the way, not when I say a letdown spot, Indiana's going to take Ohio State seriously.
Yeah.
It's tough. Ohio State, I think, wins this game 49 to 20.
To 19?
49, 51 to 20.
There you go. 3:30, BYU at Michigan State. An interesting game here. I'm going to go BYU. I don't know what to make of BYU. And equally, I do not know what to make of Michigan State. I've seen more of Michigan State, and I have been thoroughly unimpressed. It has influenced people's perception of Michigan State that they beat Notre Dame early on in the year. And BYU's coming to town. It's still a pretty good football team. They can score. They're not always the most consistent, but 6 points is a fair amount of points in a game here that I think is going to be closer. So I think BYU, I'm going to take them outright here. Give me BYU, let's say 28-24.
I really wish, and Taysom Hill definitely was better last week against Toledo. I think I said Akron on the podcast. I apologize. Those are two very different schools.
Same state, though.
Same state. Same conference. I'm going to go Michigan State here. Not because I feel particularly good about Michigan State, but just because I don't think BYU will be able to take advantage of Michigan State where they're susceptible, which is through the air. So I'm going Michigan State to have a nice bounce back week. I don't think there is as much cause for alarm as it may seem. It's still early October. I'm going with Sparty.
And then our Pac-12 pick 5. A lot of late games in the Pac-12 this week. So we've got Colorado at USC. USC, a 4.5-point home favorite. This game's at 4:00 Eastern. I'm all in on secretly decent Colorado.
They're ranked. It's not even a secret.
It's not a secret.
That's okay. I like it.
I do kind of feel like USC got itself together now with a new starting quarterback, Sam D. Arnold, as I'm
Sam D. Arnold
told we need to start calling him.
I think we said we would on Twitter or something over the summer, and we just make so many empty promises.
We really do. I'm going to take USC here minus the points. I think they're the better team.
I think that's right. I think they're coming off of a week that gave them confidence. Colorado, look, huge couple weeks for Colorado, beating Oregon, killing Oregon State, but I think there is a come down to earth moment. USC, they're getting things into a rhythm defensively. We saw them swarm Arizona State constantly, and Sam D. Arnold has been an early revelation since taking over from Max Brown. I think USC, again, has a balanced day against Colorado. I still think Colorado's good, but the fact that it's in the Coliseum, I'm going to give it to the Trojans. I think they win this 34-28.
7:30, Washington -9 on the road at Oregon. Go.
So Oregon starting Justin, his last name is Herbert. But that's not that fun. Albert. Justin Herbert is promising. He's a true freshman. Starting his first game, he threw something like 2 or 3 passes at the end in garbage time against Wazoo. So there was nothing really to judge from that. If, in fact, Justin Herbert starts, the only chance that Oregon has is putting up a ton of points early and getting the crowd super into it to push Oregon's streak to 13. And I think the chances of that happening are somewhere around 3.7%. So I look for, as an Oregon fan, does Herbert look comfortable enough throwing into a very good defense? Because Oregon's even more beat up defensively. Washington should be able to run the ball running directly at Oregon. They should be able to paint the middle of the field purple just because Oregon's linebackers have struggled in coverage. Their secondary outside of Arian Springs has been just fundamentally underwhelming. So Washington needs to run through the motions of doing Washington things, and they should win this game by at least a couple touchdowns. Now, Washington's sample size against teams on the road is as follows. Struggled against Arizona. Oregon doesn't have the organization that Arizona has at this moment, which is crazy to say. We are almost positive Stanford is a good win, but we have no idea if Stanford's good. This is me talking myself into a competitive game. I can't do it. Washington wins this game 34-17 and is impressive in Eugene. But what do you do with rivalry games, Ty?
I believe you got to throw out the records, Dan.
You got to throw out those records. And throw out a lot of the decision-making that's been involved in Oregon's season thus far as well, because Washington's win this game by double digits.
Why is this point spread only 9? That's my question.
Autzen a tough place to play. Even in a down year, Autzen's tough. It's a rivalry game. There's the potential of Washington players stressing and pressing, trying to break the streak. Jake Browning lost to a Don Pelham defense last year. And Oregon has, even with the struggles that they've put together, they have one of the 5 best running backs in the nation in Royce Freeman. And when you have a talent like that, it's a lot like looking at Florida State. Like the parallels of what has happened to not just Florida State, Oregon, but I guess Iowa, Stanford. There's some weird Rose Bowl voodoo going on. But the parallels between Florida State and Oregon with far less talent is a little bit striking with what they've not been able to do defensively, but they do have this otherworldly talent at running back. I think that's a thing. And Washington's defense is certainly better against more traditional offenses, as in the small sample size we have. But yeah, I just think it's a road thing. Autzen's a tough place to play, but there is so much more to like about Washington than there is about Oregon at this point. So I cannot justifiably say Oregon's going to even keep it close.
I'm going to take Oregon plus the points.
Wow. Why?
We saw Washington struggle a bit on the road against Arizona. Not the exact same system, but a spread attack. And this is one of the games I mentioned a few weeks ago that I could see the system, not necessarily the team, but the system giving Washington's defense a little bit of trouble.
The good news for Washington's defense is Oregon's starting left tackle is out for the season.
Yeah.
So that makes things a little bit easier.
Give me Oregon plus the 9. And I'm not going to feel great about it, but we're going to disagree.
I'm trying to talk you into taking Washington. What a weird world we live in.
Very quickly, Arizona at Utah, Utah minus 9.5. I am going to go Utah. Any reason to go Arizona?
They're so beat up and discombobulated. I'm going to go Utah as well. I think they have a nice bounce back week.
UCLA minus 10 on the road at ASU, Dan. I'm going UCLA.
ASU might be like secretly bad.
Yeah.
And they started the season out 4-0, but they struggle so much in a lot of different parts of their defense, and they struggle to adjust offensively against good teams. I think UCLA gets together again. It's late night Pac-12 weirdness, but I think UCLA is fine here. 45-20 UCLA.
And finally, Washington State on the road, a 7-point underdog at Stanford. Give me Washington State here to cover.
I'm going Wazoo as well. It's not all that difficult to win a game at Stanford. It's not a huge home field advantage. And I think Wazoo's given them fits in recent years. I'm going with the Cougs here. I think they're pretty decent now.
All right, there you have it. That's all I got on the football slate, actually. No more games.
That's all you have? By the way.
That's all I have, yeah.
Before we go any further, Ty, I need you to drop that sticky, smooth, rough. Yes, that's right. Smooth and rough. Pulsating, taut. Drum and fife. Taut.
How do you spell that?
T-A-U-T, I believe.
Huh.
Yeah, just gently. I'm going to stop right now.
Okay.
So we've got the Gators of Colgate traveling to Lehigh in your backyard. Is this the game you go to? Probably not.
I was thinking about going to this game, but I don't.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was very close to going to this game.
Don't have the spread in front of me, but Lehigh's on a bit of a high right now. I'm going to roll with the Engineers.
Okay.
You like the Gators?
If in fact I end up going to this game, I'll call in. I'll take pictures.
Okay, good.
And snaps and whatnot. But I gotta go with Lehigh here. just because of family alliances at this point?
I believe Mama and Papa Rubenstein are going to be in town this coming weekend, but I don't think they'll be here in time for Lafayette in the city, taking on the Rams, New York's one true team, Fordham. I'm going to go Lafayette here. Fordham just struggling to win close games. I'm going to go the Leopards here. Why would I turn on my Leopards now, Ty? That's what I ask you. I'm going Lafayette big here. 1 o'clock kick. Let's go. Let's go, Laps.
I'm going Ram Nation. One true team. Give me Fordham.
Princeton at Georgetown, you rolling with Monty McNair or are you rolling with John Thompson?
You don't come to multi-sport field, Dan, and expect to win. I don't care what institution you are.
True.
I'm all in on Georgetown here. Give me the Hoyas.
True. Bucknell, the Nellies at Holy Cross.
Got to go Crusaders, right?
I'm going Nellies.
What?
I'm going Bucknell, Ty.
Wow.
Breaking the mold.
Wow. Did you know there are no ranked Patriot League teams in the latest FCS poll?
Yeah, FCS scared, Ty.
So
FCS scared.
We are really scraping the bottom of the barrel here, but I got to go Crusaders. Our friend Caroline, who's a regular listener.
That's true.
She's a Crusader, right?
I believe that is the case. A special quick thank you to Raymond Espino, Jack Athan, Davis Reed, Casey, a.k.a. Adverbs Yo. She's very enthusiastic about the show. Holly G, Dan Ferguson, Derek McClellian, wonderful name. Alex Doty, who turns out, I learned this from Facebook, he knows West Coast Kevin's wife.
Really?
He does indeed.
Small
we have
world.
a mutual friend, Alex Doty. Frank Brown, Aubrey Nichols, but you know what, Ty? Aubrey Dimes.
It's more
in
like
our
a dime,
book.
yeah.
Aubrey Dimes. And of course, we ride.
We ride. Where's Hold on. There it is. We ride. We ride with Brandon McKissick.
With Brandon McKissick.
That's right.
So a couple things. Housekeeping, Ty?
Yeah.
So do you remember when I mentioned the Solid Fiance's colleague by the name of Brian listens to the show and let my fiance in on my thoughts about the suit?
Right. Yep.
So apparently he's from like the neighborhood or the area where you're from.
Okay.
And asked the Solid Fiance, does Ty work at blank? And totally nailed it.
Whoa.
Totally nailed it.
If it's out that I'm working for the CIA, I don't know if it's
true. That's true.
If it's safe for me to show my face in public anymore. Now that I'm a known double agent, but okay.
So
well, hello,
I just
Brian.
wanted to
Thank
pass
you.
along that nugget to protect yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
What else did you write down that we needed to get back to?
I'm thinking secret verbal. You mentioned milkshake flavors, and I thought that would be a great secret verbal. You know, it kind of felt like a lower energy show for me. The secret mysterious day job took it out of me today. I come home. I'm doing my best to kind of grind this one out here like it's an LSU Florida game. So I'm thinking if we're going to go milkshake flavors, we might as well make it worth our while. So who is a prominent announcer and someone that frequents the Twitter sphere?
You know what? Because we like him, because of how he handled the situation with Mac Brown leaving the booth. You remember the game last Friday night?
Oh, that's right.
I think we go Adam Amin. Adam Amin from ESPN. We really like Adam Amin. We're big fans of his. And that it's very easy to tweet him. It's Adam, the first name, and Amin, A-M-I-N, Adam Amin. No spaces or anything like that. And this is what I want you to tweet at Adam Amin. I want you to tweet to him, hey, if we were to go out for milkshakes and split a shake, 2 straws, one glass.
Gotta be like Lady in the Tramp style.
Right. Well, that was spaghetti, but yes. Like we were like old 50s sock hop style, whatever. If we're going to go out and split a milkshake, just 2 of us, 2 straws and a glass. Which flavor would you prefer?
Yeah.
Because Cookout has so many flavors. So any sort of variation of asking him which flavor milkshake would you split if you were going to have 2 straws in the same glass would be ideal. And please do not mention the Solid Verbal sending you. Please do not tag us or make any sort of reference to the fact that we sent you. Just tweet at Adam Amin, A-D-A-M-A-M-I-N. Hey, what kind of milkshake should we split the next time we go out to grab a shake?
Given what we do, this is the highest honor we can bestow upon anyone in the college football universe.
When you go to a ramen spot and you start slurping the broth, that tells the chef, oh, no, we are simpatico. This flavor is really doing it for me.
Right. So it's more a sign of respect.
Yes. Adam
than the
Amin,
contrary.
double straw milkshake. What flavor are we going with? We going swirl? We going strawberry? We going blueberry? Peach cobb?
Do they make a Neapolitan
I would imagine
milkshake?
so.
I would think they'd
Absolutely.
have to.
What kind of milkshake are we splitting? Lay this out for me.
Do they make a cookie dough milkshake. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Throw it out there. Adam Amin.
Big fans of his.
All right. Dan Rubenstein, that's all I got here.
That's all I've got
for college football week 6. If you are looking for any kind of window of opportunity, I'd get your chores in early. There's some big games on later on in the day. Please do give us a call. 408-VERBAL-1, 408-837-2251. Our friend Taylor is going to mix and match all of those calls. Last week we had, I thought, maybe the best batch of reverbs we've ever had. These continue to get better. We get hundreds and literally hundreds of calls per week. But if you're clever, if you're concise, and if you've got a college football observation that you'd like to phone in, again, it's 408-VERBAL-1, 408-837-2251. We are also on Twitter at Solid Verbal, and do like our Facebook page if you haven't already. It's at facebook.com/solidverbal. I find it hard to believe that you don't hear me saying this each and every week and already like the Facebook page, but in looking at our numbers compared to our Twitter account, people got a lot of work to do. So get on it. You know you're on Facebook. Like the page. We're not going to bombard you. Another cool way for you to interact with many of the Verballers who are out there. And, of course, we're on Instagram and Snapchat. You already know the deal, but every little bit helps. Tell your friends. Dan Rubenstein, I think that's all I got, man.
That's all I have.
Parched. I am out of energy. I am looking forward to eating some dinner here, editing the show, and getting ready for week 6.
Also, the fire alarm has been going off for a few minutes here, so I'm going to verify soon that there is no fire here. And I will not.
A hot week here.
But you have all this audio, right?
I have it, yeah.
Okay, cool. So whatever, I'd like to
stop, drop, and roll, Dan.
I love my parents. I love you, Ty. Love the solid fiance. So just getting that out into the universe before I possibly combust.
For that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein, who was literally putting himself in harm's way to bring you this hot, free college football content for myself, Ty Hildebrand. Thanks again for tuning into the show. We appreciate your support. Enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, and stay solid.
Peace.